Indonesia has its roots in two Greek words, Indos, meaning Indian, and Nissos, meaning islands. It's an apt description for the sprawling archipelago of more than 17,000 islands, which divides the Pacific and the Indian Oceans at the equator. More than 500 ethnic groups with numerous different cultures can be found on this fourth most populous nation in the world. Indonesia's largest ethnic group is the Javanese, whose rich culture and ancient traditions have influenced the ways of the land. This episode offers a snapshot of Indonesia, ASEAN's largest founding member and the country's oldest cultural tradition, the Wayang Kulit, or Indonesia's shadow theatre. Karanganyar, Central Java. An hour's drive from the historic city of Solo, said to be the capital of Javanese culture. Here, vast verdant paddy fields meet expansive mountain ranges. The idyllic rustic charm is as familiar to the villagers as the sight of Ki Mantub Sudarsono on his vintage BSA motorcycle. This 60-year-old unassuming grandfather is Indonesia's cultural icon. He is a dalang, or a puppet master in Wayang Kulit.
Saya bisa mengenal wayang seperti itu dan bisa tahu itu karena saya sejak kecil memang saya sudah dididik untuk tahu wayang dari almarhum bapak saya, ibu saya, kakek saya sudah mendidik saya supaya tahu wayang. Bagaimana kamu buat wayang? Prosesnya bagaimana? Nyorek itu bagaimana? Natah itu bagaimana? Memberi warna, istilahnya nyungging itu bagaimana?
The Javanese word wayang means shadow or ghost. In traditional Wayang Kulit, shadows are cast on white screen by using an oil lamp. Modern forms now use spotlights, colored lights, and other innovations. What remains unchanged is the pivotal role of the dalang, who animates the shadows, sings the dialogues, improvises jokes, and directs the gamelan orchestra, which accompanies the wayang. An accomplished dalang like Ki Mantub is a venerated artist in Javanese society. Since time began, Javanese artists and artisans learn the knowledge and skills of ancient art forms in a traditional manner by apprenticing with a master. Ki Mantub himself comes from a long lineage of dalangs, who is skillful at making the leather puppets, an art in itself. Leather puppets are made of buffalo or goat skin. The level of skills involved is apparent in the fine detail of the stylized puppets. The puppets are seen only as silhouettes in a show, yet they are fastidiously painted with fine brushwork. This reflects Javanese deep appreciation for meticulous handwork and fine craftsmanship.
Ada juga dalang yang wayang itu tinggal pakai pesen. Saya buatkan wayang ini. Buat wayang ini. Tapi kalau saya, itu kebanyakan wayang yang saya pakai, itu pasti yang yang membuat saya sendiri. Merancang saya sendiri. Anatomi wayang itu saya sendiri. Gitu.
Before the start of the performance, the puppets wait in the wings on each side of the stage, ready for the dalang to bring them to life. A dalang has to commit to memory the stories and characters of more than 400 puppets, which represent the opposing forces of good and evil.
Kalau kita melihat ini postur anatominya ini Bima ini kan gagah besar, wataknya mempunyai watak jujur, jujur dan pemberani, dan memang orang kuat. Tetapi kekuatan Bima bukan untuk sombong-sombongan. Bima itu mempunyai watak suka membela yang kecil. Siapapun minta tolong kepada Bima, pasti Bima akan berangkat. Ini raja besar, Raja Hastinapura, Prabu Duryudana. Nah, ini orangnya gagah, hampir sama dengan Bima. Akan tetapi, yaitu tadi, hatinya jelek untuk menang sendiri. Ini kan namanya raksasa cakil. Cakil itu di dalam pewayangan. Itu pasti keluar, dan ini pasti menggoda. Dan digoda siapa? Arjuna ini. Maka cakil ini geraknya ya pasti pencilaan begini. Karena apa? Ini raksasa. Nah, ya kan, begini. Ya.
As a dalang, Ki Manteb manipulates his puppets and is in complete control of his show. In a twist worthy of a wayang plot, Ki Manteb was invited to the capital, Jakarta, recently, not as a dalang, but to act as Petruk, a clown servant in wayang orang. And so, the dalang was transformed into a wayang character. It was Ki Manteb's turn to be maneuvered and directed.
Petruk itu kan watak mencerminkan orang kecil. Kalau orang Jawa bilang itu abdi itu batur itu yang disuruh dari penguasanya atau bendoronya disuruh ke sana kemari. Akan tetapi di lain sisi, Petruk adalah juga membawa misi untuk memperingatkan kepada yaitu penguasa yang lupa dengan pekerjaannya atau lupa dengan janji-janjinya. Petruk bisa mengingatkan.
Wayang orang is another form of wayang using a cast of actors. Regardless of the form, wayang contain messages of moral, religious, and social importance, at times in some comic scenes. Amidst laughter and buffoonery, the audience is gently nudged to reflect on key messages in life that resonate at the end. Wayang have existed for more than 1,000 years. Its stories largely drawn from two Hindu epics, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Sadly, this ancient oral tradition is slowly losing its younger fans, put off perhaps by the ancient tongue it's told in, the obscure imageries and lengthy all-night-long performances. Will the shadows lure the youths to appreciate this ancient tradition of their forefathers? With their compass fixed firmly on the west, Indonesian youths of today are typical of the youths in Southeast Asia. Their high-octave energy screaming with unbridled angst. Surrounded by modern distractions, traditions and culture are but remote concepts for many of them. Not so for this young man. Gatot is the youngest son of Ki Manteb. Truly his father's son, Gatot is able to play all the instruments in a gamelan orchestra. Gamelan music is often the accompaniment in a wayang performance.
Saya sudah mempunyai rasa cinta dulu, cinta dengan gamelan. Yang kedua, saya sepertinya udah mendarah daging menjadi satu dengan jiwa saya, karena sejak saya dilahirkan, saya udah mengenal dengan namanya gamelan. Ya, kemudian kalau untuk saya saking bisa kenapa bisa saya cinta karena di dalam gamelan itu ada musik-musik yang nuansanya sedih, senang, marah, rasa agung, bisa pokoknya bermacam-macam. Itu bisa diwujudkan melalui melodi.
In gamelan music, no instrument predominates. Each has an important function that relates to the whole. This quieter chord in gamelan music reflects how the Javanese favors harmony and order in life, like the harmony between the physical and spiritual worlds. Kimanta has his own gamelan ensemble, which meets weekly for rehearsals at Gatot's residence. It's a time for them to receive pointers from the maestro himself.
Kat. Ampun gondo, ganda.
The Javanese believes that every instrument of the gamelan is guided by spirits. The gamelan is regarded as sacred, and musicians are humble and respectful of the gamelan. The most important instrument in the orchestra is the gong ageng, or the giant gong. Javanese musicians believe that the gong ageng is the main spirit of the entire gamelan. The reverence for the gong ageng can be seen in the process of making one.
Yang paling penting itu, yang paling keramat itu yang gong besar itu. Jadi gong besar itu harus pakai selamatan. Karena tidak pakai selamatan ternyata kita ya tidak jadi. Gong besar itu punya posisi yang khusus. Jadi kadang-kadang gampang yang gong besar itu kalau mau dipakai itu kan kadang-kadang kalau orang Jawa dipakai diobong-obongi, paling enggak itu dikasih bunga. Jadi kembang staman itu disiramkan di gongnya itu.
According to Pak Poyo, one of Solo's renowned gamelan makers, a gamelan craftsman takes about 8 years to perfect his art of making the perfect sounding gong ageng. Solo, previously known as Surakarta, was once the heart of an ancient kingdom. Solo is also home to 2 palaces or kratons. Throughout Javanese history, the kraton has been regarded as the symbol of supreme power and the gateway to divinity. The strong association to the kraton imbues the gamelan with mystical powers. Even today, the gamelan in the kraton is played on special days or to mark significant occasions.
Keistimewaan gamelan terletak pada satu kekompakan. Yang kedua dengan kebersamaan tadi, ada musik-musik yang instrumen tertentu sebagai pendukung utama. Gamelan istimewanya yaitu tetap pertama di gong besar. Ada poin-poin instrumen yang paling sangat penting yaitu selain gong, rebab, gendang, sama gender. Itu di antara 3 ini sudah sebagai satu ikatan yang harus tetap ada di dalam gamelan.
The rebab. Its haunting wails have spun a web of magic around musicians like Gatot. Across the sea and miles away in cosmopolitan Singapore, Amy too has fallen under the charms of the alluring gamelan.
Gamelan is more to in your heart. Like once you play it for a long time, you memorize it, and then slowly it's all there, and you can actually remember the other parts of other instruments. What are their parts? What are they playing? And then you can sing to it in your heart.
Students of gamelan describe its music as highly stratified and polyphonic and not based on Western harmonies. The gamelan can also count among its fans several Western composers of classical music, most famously Claude Debussy, who appreciated its quiet, structured harmony.
People who study Indonesian, I suppose, as a byproduct of that, they're interested in Indonesian culture and gamelan and that sort of thing. But I think because we're such close neighbours, that it's, I suppose, good to learn about each other.
Cultural exchanges and self-diplomacy have been one of the cornerstones of ASEAN as a regional grouping. This philosophy resonating most with interactions at the people-to-people level. Ki Manteb himself has been invited by some countries in Southeast Asia, eager to listen and learn from one of Indonesia's treasured cultural icons.
Siapapun yang mau ilmu itu, kemarilah. Mumpung saya masih hidup. Karena sisa hidup saya ini memang akan saya habiskan untuk mendarmakan keahlian saya di bidang wayang itu kepada anak-anak yang senang kepada wayang.
Gatot too is keen on spreading the music of his people. He hopes to be able to revitalize the traditional sounds of the age-old gamelan.
Notasi itu terdiri dari dulu, sejak dulu ada. Jadi gending apapun di situ udah ada. Sekarang saya tinggal ingin melestarikan dan tidak menutup kemungkinan untuk saya menciptakan suatu karya bebas. Dengan perbendaraan gending-gending yang lalu, saya mempunyai ide, saya buat lagi mungkin itu.
Gatot considers it his birthright and duty to ensure that gamelan remains timeless. Its allure unchanged with the passage of time. It's a love affair that spans 40 years. Matsumoto is an 84-year-old Japanese dalang who leads a wayang kulit troupe in Tokyo. He deeply respects wayang and its people, which led him to immerse himself totally in the language and culture of the Javanese. A journey that opened his eyes to the common threads that exist between the two ancient cultures. But a main difference separates them.
日本の伝統芸能にはですね、能とか歌舞伎とか文楽とかっていうのがあります。だけどそれはあくまでも伝統芸能であって現代につながっていないんですね、はっきりと。なんか古いんですよ。ところがジャワの和ヤンは1000年の歴史を持ってずいぶん古い伝統的な芸能でありながら、あくまでも現代の要素をものすごくはらんで持ってるんですね。勉強してその中でいろんなものを自分の中にこう取り込んで教えてもらったんですけれども、それはあくまでも私自身の日本人としての現代がどういうふうに自分自身を生かしていけるか。
Ki Manteb was one of Matsumoto's early instructors. The two creative geniuses share an invisible bond in their devotion to this complex and spiritual art form. They also share the belief in stretching the bounds of tradition to adapt wayang to contemporary audiences.
Dulu tahun 80 berapa, 84, 85, wayang hampir mati, Mas. Tetapi saya gebrak pakai itu. Ada drum, ada simbal, ada trompet, ada bintang tamu, lawaknya masuk. Dimaui masyarakat, wayang timbul lagi. Tapi begini, dalangnya harus jangan terbawa oleh arus. Karena budaya wayang itu sendiri ada garisnya, ada pakemnya. Pakemnya jangan ditinggal.
A dalang is revered for his deep understanding of life and his role as a teacher and spiritual guide. For years, knowledge in dalangship was passed down informally from generation to generation. Many dalangs are autodidacts, self-taught in the art of spinning the perfect yarn.
Anak-anak muda yang berjiwa seni mau menggeluti kepada wayang itu sendiri, itu harus kita dorong. Jangan dipersulit. Kita dorong. Maka saya setuju isi Solo, Institut Seni Indonesia di Surakarta sekarang ini membuka lebar-lebar kepada anak-anak muda yang ingin kuliah jurusan pedalangan, dibuka secara khusus. Dan saya dengar malah dapat bantuan beasiswa. Itu saya sangat salut.
UNESCO recognized wayang kulit as a relevant intangible culture in 2003. This raised the status of wayang back in Indonesia, and Ki Manteup himself performed to rave reviews at the award ceremony in Paris, France. After 43 years of being a shadow master, Ki Manteup's techniques in handling the puppets continue to wow audiences, both locally and overseas. Using special effects, his fight sequences, some say, are unparalleled.
Cintailah budaya kita, terutama wayang kulit atau wayang orang, semuanya supaya dia mengerti walaupun tidak mengerti keseluruhan. Tetapi orang Indonesia tahulah itu milik saya. Tidak ada gunanya wayang itu mendapatkan penghargaan dari UNESCO tanpa ada perhatian dari pemerintah itu sendiri. Mau diapakan wayang ini? Untuk apa penghargaan dari UNESCO? Kalau pemerintahnya, dalangnya, masyarakatnya tidak menyatukan pendapat untuk menghidupkan wayang itu sendiri.
Ki Manteup's final message lingers in the air, like his wayang performances, long after the last strain of gamelan is heard. Like the land, their traditions and culture are to the Javanese their priceless inheritance. One that has to be protected and preserved for future generations to have and to gain from.